Let's have a real conversation about a pattern many are seeing today. A person lives one way for over a decade, focused on thrill-seeking, external approval, and a series of fleeting experiences. Then, as time passes, they announce a shift. They declare they are now ready for stability, for something rooted and real. This presents a crucial question for anyone listening. Is this a genuine, internal transformation, or is this change driven by a narrowing field of possibilities? What we often witness after a certain age isn't always evolution. Sometimes, it's fear dressed up as growth. If you miss that distinction, you might find yourself building a future with someone whose peak energy, prime years, and most authentic passion were directed elsewhere, toward those who offered no future, while you were presented with what remains. Stay with me, because we're going to unpack the mindset, the circumstances, and the practical realities that emerge during this phase of life. You'll learn to recognize certain signals and protect your own peace and future. I'm speaking to you plainly, as someone who has watched this cycle impact good people repeatedly. The individual claiming to be ready for something substantial might not be operating from a place of clarity, but from urgency. There is a monumental difference between those two starting points, and that difference will define whether a long-term partnership becomes a source of strength or a source of deep struggle. Popular narratives suggest that with age comes a natural maturation, a turning toward family and commitment. There's some truth to development, but what's often left unsaid is the catalyst for that shift and what it signifies for the partner who is now, suddenly, of serious interest after being overlooked for years. Let's look at some underlying realities. First, there is a biological timeline that becomes undeniably pressing. For women, fertility undergoes a significant shift in the mid to late 30s. The statistical probability of natural conception changes. This isn't a value judgment. It's a medical and biological reality. The urgency you might feel, the push to move quickly, to define the relationship, to not waste time, can sometimes be less about a deep-seated choice in you as an individual and more about the pressure of a closing window. This isn't to discount genuine connection, but to understand that timing can heavily influence decisions. Second, social dynamics and personal currency evolve over time. The social capital, attention, and range of options one experiences in their youth often transform with age. The people who were once pursued may find their social landscape altered. This can lead to a reassessment of what is truly important and who is now available. The person who shows interest today might have had entirely different priorities and standards a decade ago. It's vital to ask, is this interest rooted in a genuine appreciation for who you are now, or is it a pragmatic adjustment to a new set of life circumstances? This is where you must be observant. If you were overlooked years ago when the other person's social calendar was full and options were plentiful, and are now being embraced with fervor, it's fair to question what has changed. You likely haven't transformed into a completely different person. Rather, the circumstances and priorities of the other individual have shifted. This dynamic can create an unstable foundation if the interest is born from dwindling options rather than authentic affinity. I need you to do something for me right now. If this conversation is making you think, hit that subscribe button. More importantly, smash that like button. It tells the algorithm this is important. And drop a comment below, let me know your thoughts. This is a dialogue. Third, prolonged periods of transient connections can have psychological aftereffects. The human capacity for deep bonding can be influenced by patterns of behavior. A history of short-term, non-committal engagements can sometimes make sustained intimacy and the navigation of long-term relationship challenges more difficult. This isn't about judgment, but about patterns. Someone accustomed to exiting at the first sign of difficulty may lack the tools for conflict resolution that a lasting partnership requires. Furthermore, constantly seeking novelty can make the stability of a committed relationship feel dull or restrictive over time. This can manifest in ways that erode a partnership. Intimacy might feel more like a routine than a connecting force. There might be an underlying restlessness or dissatisfaction with the ordinary, beautiful rhythms of a shared life. Challenges might be met with an urge to abandon ship rather than to repair it. These are not character flaws, but potential consequences of ingrained habits. Fourth, and this is critical, the motivation for commitment is key. Is the drive for a serious relationship coming from a place of genuine desire? To build with a specific person, or from a strategic need for security, stability, or societal validation. When commitment is sought as a solution to anxiety about the future, fear of being alone, financial uncertainty, or a ticking biological clock, the partner can become less of a chosen equal and more of a means to an end. This foundation often breeds resentment, as the individual may unconsciously blame their partner for representing a life they feel forced into, rather than one they passionately chose. This resentment is toxic and reveals itself over years. It can look like constant, subtle comparisons to past partners or imagined alternatives. It can manifest as withholding affection or intimacy. It can appear as chronic criticism, where nothing the committed partner does is ever quite good enough, because they are subconsciously viewed as a symbol of compromise. Don't just listen, engage. Share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with the word foundation if you believe understanding motivation is everything. And subscribe for more straight talk. Now, let's outline specific behavioral patterns that often characterize this ready now phase, so you can observe with clarity. Pattern 1. A sudden shift in type. The individual expresses a newfound attraction to qualities they previously dismissed. I used to go for exciting but unreliable people. Now I value stability and kindness. While personal growth is real, scrutinize the timing. If this new type aligns perfectly with your profile just as their social opportunities have narrowed, it may be pragmatism, not a revolution of the heart. You may be being appreciated not for who you uniquely are, but for the utility you provide in their current life chapter. Pattern 2. Extreme timetable pressure. There is no allowance for a natural, organic development of the relationship. Immediate exclusivity, rapid introductions to family, talks of marriage and children within the first few months. These are hallmarks of urgency. Time is treated as an enemy. This pressure is designed to secure commitment before full transparency and authentic compatibility can be assessed. If you attempt to slow the pace to a comfortable one, you may be met with emotional withdrawal, guilt-tripping, or ultimatums. This is a major red flag. Healthy relationships grow, they are not rushed into existence. Pattern 3. The performance of tradition. A noticeable, and sometimes discordant, embrace of traditionally feminine or domestic roles appears, despite a history that showed little evidence of such values. It's crucial to distinguish between authentic discovery and strategic performance. Look for consistency. Does their daily life reflect these new values? Is their social circle consistent with this new identity? A performance, no matter how convincing, is exhausting to maintain and will inevitably falter under the pressures of real, daily life and marriage, revealing the underlying persona. Pattern 4. Defensiveness about the past. A person comfortable with their journey can discuss their past with openness and accountability. Defensiveness, evasion, gaslighting, you're insecure for asking, or shaming around questions about relationship history are glaring warnings. This indicates there is information they know would alter your decision to commit. A partner with integrity understands that their past is relevant to your shared future and offers transparency willingly. Pattern 5. The two-tiered experience. Perhaps the most painful pattern is receiving a diminished version of the person that others enjoyed. The past partners may have experienced a more vibrant, enthusiastic, agreeable, and physically available individual, often with minimal investment or commitment. You, the committed partner, may receive a more cautious, entitled, or critical version, while being expected to provide maximum security, resources, and tolerance. This inequitable exchange, where you give more and receive less than those before you, is the blueprint for long-term dissatisfaction and resentment. This is crucial. Your thoughts matter. Comment below. Have you seen this two-tiered pattern before? Like this video if you're learning something new. And subscribe. We're just getting started. Part 2. Let's delve deeper. Understanding why this pattern has become more common is key to navigating it. For years, a dominant cultural message has championed the idea that early adulthood should be primarily for self-focused exploration, career, travel, personal freedom, and experiential living. The message often implied that partnership and family could be seamlessly integrated later, without consequence. This narrative, while empowering in many ways, sometimes omitted honest conversations about biological realities, the emotional impact of certain lifestyles, and the shifting social dynamics that come with age. The consequence is that some people arrive at their mid-30s or beyond, having followed that script, only to confront a landscape different from what they anticipated. The options have changed. The biological pressures are real. The panic that ensues isn't about maturity. It's about the terrifying realization that some doors are closing. This panic is the engine behind the high-pressure, Ready Now campaign. Decisions made from fear and scarcity are rarely sound, and a partnership founded on desperation is a fragile one. So, how can you discern between genuine, hard-won transformation and a strategic, scarcity-driven settlement? Let's build a framework for evaluation. First, examine the timing of the shift. Did the desire for a settled, family-oriented life begin to emerge in the early 30s, when their social capital and options were still high? Or did it crystallize abruptly after 35, in direct correlation with a perceived narrowing of paths? Internal growth can happen at any time, but a change that perfectly aligns with a decline in external opportunities warrants careful scrutiny. Transformation is internally driven. Strategy is externally compelled. Second, assess accountability. Listen to how they speak about their past. A person who has genuinely evolved takes full, unvarnished responsibility for their choices and their consequences. There are no perpetual villains, no blaming of an entire gender, no claims of being a lifelong victim of circumstances. They can say, "I chose those paths, and here is what I learned." In contrast, a person performing change will often externalize blame, men, society, luck, thereby positioning themselves as a passive recipient of life's whims, now ready for a reward. This lack of core accountability will poison a future partnership. Third, test for consistency. Is the traditional or settled behavior they show you consistent across all areas of their life? Observe their friendships. Are they still deeply enmeshed with groups that live and promote a completely contradictory lifestyle? Check their social media history and present activity. Does it show a pattern of attention-seeking that conflicts with their new, modest persona? Do they maintain a roster of orbiting admirers, just as friends? If the performance is only for you, it will crack. Authentic change is holistic, not situational. Fourth, apply the patience test. A person secure in their transformation is secure in the process. They will not panic if the relationship develops at a healthy, logical pace. They want you to be sure because they are sure. A person operating from desperation, however, cannot afford patience. Time is their adversary. They will apply relentless pressure, through talks of clocks ticking, through emotional punishment for hesitation, through ultimatums. Any attempt to slow down for clarity will be met as a threat. This pressure itself is your answer. Fifth, observe comparative treatment. This requires brutal honesty. How do they speak about their past partners? Is there a lingering nostalgia, a tone of what if, or respect that seems disproportionate? More importantly, how do they treat you? With genuine admiration, respect, and enthusiasm, or with a sense of condescension, as if you should be grateful for their attention? You are looking for evidence that you are the first choice prize, not the last choice solution. The energy they have for you should be equal to or greater than the energy they recall giving to others. I'm pausing here because this is a lot. You need to internalize this. So take action. Share this video with someone it could help. Comment accountability if you think that's the biggest marker of real change. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The algorithm needs to know this content has value. The hard truth is that for some, the patterns of the past are deeply ingrained. The ability to form a secure, deep pair bond can be affected by years of transient connections. The habit of comparing a present partner to past thrills or fantasizing about alternatives can become a chronic mental loop. The resentment of settling for a safe option, even if consciously denied, can fester for decades. The performance of being a certain type of partner cannot be sustained through the stresses of mortgage payments, childcare, and the mundane beauty of daily life. What you see during the courtship period is often the peak of the performance. Marriage and family life will apply pressure that reveals the true foundation. So what are your options if you find yourself frequently encountering individuals in this ready now phase? Option 1. The believer. You can choose to accept the performance at face value, believing they are the exception to every pattern. This is a high-stakes gamble with your emotional well-being, financial security, and future family stability. You are betting that the performance is reality and that no hidden resentment or comparison will emerge. Some win this bet. Many do not. Option 2. The pragmatist. You can use the framework above to vet rigorously. You move with deliberate slowness, ignore pressure, demand transparency about the past, and observe behavior across all contexts. You look not at words, but at patterns of action over extended time. You understand that trust is earned through consistency, not promised in a moment of urgency. This path requires strength, self-worth, and a willingness to walk away if the evidence points to a settlement strategy. Option 3. The redirector. You can consciously choose to redirect your search entirely. This might mean seeking partners in different social circles, considering different age ranges, or focusing intensely on your own mission and value to such a degree that you naturally attract individuals who are already aligned with a stable, growth-oriented lifestyle, not suddenly converting to it. You focus on being the best version of yourself, and let that be the filter. This is the final call. If this conversation has been worth your time, prove it. Smash that like button. Share it on your social media. Someone needs this wake-up call. Comment below with your biggest takeaway. And subscribe. I break down these complex topics regularly, and your support helps this reach more people. Ultimately, your life partnership is your most consequential decision. It should be built on mutual choice, not mutual desperation. On transparent history, not strategic omission. On genuine compatibility, not convenient timing. You deserve to be someone's first choice, not their last resort. You deserve a love built on a solid foundation, not on the sinking sand of panic disguised as maturity. Protect your peace. Protect your future. Choose wisely.